Welcome to this lecture on U.S. regulatory agencies and approval processes for medical devices. The United States regulatory framework for medical devices is anchored by the FDA, which serves as the primary authority overseeing the approval, post-market surveillance, and compliance enforcement for medical devices. Within the FDA, the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH, manages device evaluation, guidance issuance, and review of pre-market submissions for safety and effectiveness. The Office of In Vitro Diagnostics and Radiological Health, OIR, further specializes in diagnostic devices, including laboratory and point-of-care tests. These agencies coordinate to ensure public health protection while facilitating innovation. Understanding their roles is essential for regulatory affairs professionals, as it enables proper alignment, early engagement, and strategic planning from concept through post-market surveillance. Early interactions help sponsors avoid miscommunication, prevent data gaps, and reduce delays in submission review. Effective navigation of these regulatory bodies requires a deep understanding of their review processes, timelines, and expectations for documentation, testing, and clinical data. The FDA regulates devices through multiple pathways designed to balance timely access with patient safety. The 510(k) pathway is the most common, allowing devices that are substantially equivalent to an existing legally marketed device to reach the market with limited clinical data. The PMA pathway applies to high-risk Class 3 devices, requiring comprehensive clinical trials, non-clinical testing, and sometimes advisory panel review to ensure safety and effectiveness. The de novo pathway allows novel devices with low to moderate risk to establish a new device classification when no predicate exists, facilitating future 510(k) submissions for similar devices. Finally, the Ph.D. pathway is intended for devices addressing rare diseases affecting fewer than 8,000 individuals per year in the U.S., focusing on safety and probable benefit rather than definitive effectiveness. Selecting the appropriate pathway early is critical for efficient development, study design, and resource allocation, ensuring that regulatory expectations are met and time to market is optimized. The 510(k) pathway enables devices to demonstrate substantial equivalence to a legally marketed predicate device. This involves comparing technological characteristics, intended use, and performance data. Bench testing, functional performance testing, and occasionally clinical data are used to support equivalence claims. A complete submission includes device description, intended use statement, labeling, risk analysis, and supporting testing data. Early pre-submission meetings with FDA provide feedback on study design, data expectations, and potential gaps, reducing additional information requests and expediting clearance. A carefully planned 510(k) strategy aligns development with regulatory expectations, minimizes delays, and ensures compliance, facilitating safe, timely access to market. The PMA pathway is the FDA's most stringent regulatory review process, applying to Class 3 high-risk devices. It requires robust clinical trials, long-term follow-up, and comprehensive non-clinical testing such as biocompatibility, mechanical, electrical, and software validation. FDA review often involves advisory panels that independently assess safety and effectiveness, increasing scrutiny and ensuring public safety. Early interactions with the FDA via pre-submission meetings are essential to align on clinical protocols, endpoints, statistical analysis, and risk mitigation. Strategic planning reduces delays, ensures comprehensive data collection, and increases the likelihood of approval. PMA preparation involves coordination across engineering, clinical, and regulatory teams, documentation of all design history, and robust risk management to meet the high evidentiary standards. De novo classification is designed for innovative devices lacking a predicate device. Sponsors must provide data demonstrating safety and effectiveness through non-clinical testing and sometimes limited clinical studies. Successful de novo approval establishes a new device type and regulatory controls, allowing future devices of similar technology to use the 510(k) pathway. Pre-submission interactions with FDA clarify appropriate testing strategies, endpoint selection, and documentation requirements. This pathway fosters innovation while maintaining safety standards. Strategic integration of regulatory planning and early engagement ensures efficient review, clear expectations, and streamlined future submissions for related devices. The Ph.D. pathway facilitates access to medical devices intended for rare diseases. Unlike PMA, definitive evidence of effectiveness is not required. Sponsors must demonstrate that probable benefit outweighs risk. Safety remains paramount, and appropriate non-clinical and clinical testing must be conducted. FDA provides guidance through pre-submission and ongoing review, helping sponsors understand testing expectations, documentation requirements, and labeling considerations. Strategic planning, early engagement, and risk assessment are critical to ensure timely approval, patient safety, and regulatory compliance. This pathway encourages development in areas with high unmet medical need, ensuring innovative devices reach patients efficiently while maintaining safety standards. Effective medical device development requires coordination across multiple domains, including engineering, clinical evaluation, and regulatory affairs. Key milestones such as concept feasibility, design input, output, verification, validation, and submission preparation must be carefully planned and tracked. Resource allocation should account for personnel expertise, testing requirements, and risk management activities to avoid bottlenecks and delays. Proper documentation, including design history files and risk management files, is essential for compliance and inspection readiness. Strategic planning ensures that activities proceed in the correct sequence, supports regulatory submission efficiency, and ultimately contributes to safe, timely, and effective device introduction to the market. A Gantt chart is an essential visual planning tool that provides a timeline representation of medical device development. It illustrates key activities such as concept development, design and prototyping, verification and validation, submission preparation, and FDA review. By mapping tasks against time, stakeholders can identify critical paths, dependencies, and potential bottlenecks. This allows teams to allocate resources efficiently, monitor progress, and adjust schedules proactively. Gantt charts also facilitate communication across multidisciplinary teams, ensuring alignment on project milestones, deliverables, and timelines, reducing the risk of delays or overlooked tasks. When combined with regulatory planning, Gantt charts help ensure a smooth pathway to device approval and market entry, supporting both compliance and business objectives. A program evaluation and review technique, PERT, chart provides a visual representation of task dependencies and workflow in medical device development. It shows how each step, from concept development through design input, design verification, validation, and submission, is interconnected. PERT charts allow project managers to identify critical paths, sequences of tasks that determine overall project duration, and anticipate potential delays or resource constraints. By understanding task interdependencies, teams can prioritize work, allocate resources strategically, and develop contingency plans. This tool complements Gantt charts by emphasizing dependencies rather than just duration, ensuring comprehensive oversight of development timelines and regulatory milestones. It is particularly useful for complex projects with multiple parallel activities, where proactive risk management and schedule optimization are critical for successful FDA submission. A fishbone or Ishikawa diagram is used to systematically identify potential causes of delays or problems in medical device registration. Key categories include regulatory strategy, pathway selection, predicate identification, testing and validation, protocol deviations, failed tests, documentation, incomplete DHF, poor traceability, resources, staff expertise, budget, communication, timely FDA interactions, unclear requirements, and design issues, safety, performance concerns. By mapping these causes visually, teams can anticipate challenges, develop mitigation strategies, and improve coordination across departments. This proactive approach minimizes surprises during submission, supports risk-based planning, and enhances overall efficiency in regulatory processes. Integrating insights from the fishbone diagram into project management tools ensures that potential obstacles are addressed early and systematically. Strategic planning for medical device registration is critical for successful market entry. Early engagement with FDA, particularly through pre-submission meetings, helps clarify regulatory expectations, study design, and testing requirements. Implementing comprehensive risk management according to ISO 14971 ensures hazards are identified and mitigated throughout the development process. Maintaining detailed documentation, including the design history file and device master record, supports compliance, audit readiness, and traceability. Realistic timeline planning with contingencies helps manage delays and resource limitations. Allocating experienced regulatory affairs personnel ensures submissions are accurate, complete, and aligned with FDA expectations. Combined, these strategies minimize delays, reduce regulatory risk, and improve the likelihood of timely device approval. The Design History File, DHF, is a central repository documenting the design process, verification, validation, and risk management activities. It maintains traceability of design inputs and outputs, including testing results, clinical evaluations, and design changes. Comprehensive DHF documentation supports FDA submissions, facilitates inspections, and demonstrates compliance with regulatory requirements. The DHF includes records of design reviews, risk analyses, protocol deviations, software validation, and change control, ensuring that all aspects of device development are documented. Maintaining a well-organized DHF improves transparency, supports quality management systems, and enhances readiness for regulatory review or audits. Integration of DHF documentation into project management and regulatory submission planning is essential for efficient and compliant device approval. Effective risk management is a cornerstone of medical device development and regulatory compliance. ISO 14971 provides a framework for identifying hazards, assessing risks, implementing mitigation measures, and evaluating residual risk. Risk management guides design decisions, selection of materials, software validation, and clinical evaluation strategies. Documented risk management activities are reviewed during FDA inspections and submissions, supporting safety claims and regulatory compliance. Post-market surveillance relies on ongoing risk assessment to identify adverse events, implement corrective actions, and update device labeling as needed. By embedding risk management throughout the lifecycle, sponsors ensure patient safety, reduce liability, and strengthen regulatory submissions, enhancing the probability of successful approval. FDA pre-submission meetings, Q-subs, allow sponsors to engage early to clarify submission requirements, discuss clinical study design, endpoints, and obtain feedback on testing protocols. These meetings reduce the likelihood of additional information requests, ensure alignment on regulatory expectations, and facilitate more efficient review of 510(k) or PMA submissions. A comprehensive briefing package should be submitted in advance, including device description, proposed indications, testing plans, and specific questions for FDA feedback. Mock meetings and internal reviews prepare the team to address anticipated questions, maximizing the value of the interaction. Early FDA engagement through QSub supports risk-based regulatory planning, accelerates review, and improves the probability of timely device approval. Clinical study planning must consider device classification, intended use, and regulatory pathway. Protocols should be designed to meet FDA expectations, including primary and secondary endpoints that demonstrate safety and effectiveness. Validation includes bench testing, analytical performance, functional assessment, and human factors evaluation. Clinical studies should follow good clinical practices, GCP, and ethical standards. Documenting protocols, deviations, results, and analyses is critical for regulatory submissions. Proper planning ensures robust evidence, reduces queries during review, and facilitates approval. Integrating clinical validation with risk management and design verification ensures a comprehensive, compliant submission. Resource planning is critical for successful medical device development. Teams must include personnel with expertise in engineering, clinical research, regulatory affairs, quality management, and project management. Budgets must cover testing, validation, clinical trials, documentation, and regulatory submission fees. Contingencies should be included to account for delays, unexpected testing, or additional data requirements. Proper resource allocation ensures milestones are met on schedule, maintains compliance, and minimizes risks associated with budget overruns or inadequate staffing. Efficient resource management is closely linked to successful regulatory submissions and timely market entry. Post-market surveillance is an ongoing requirement that ensures continued safety and effectiveness of medical devices. Sponsors must track device performance, collect adverse event reports, and monitor device malfunctions. Corrective and preventive actions, CAPA, must be implemented when issues arise. Labeling, instructions for use, and clinical guidance may need updates based on post-market data. Compliance with FDA reporting requirements, including medical device reporting, MDR, ensures regulatory adherence and maintains public safety. A robust post-market plan supports risk management, informs future product improvements, and demonstrates regulatory diligence. Common regulatory pitfalls include incomplete or inconsistent documentation, insufficient risk management integration, unclear study protocols or endpoints, and delayed communication with FDA reviewers. Mitigation strategies involve early and structured planning, thorough documentation, proactive pre-submission meetings, and internal reviews of submissions. By identifying potential pitfalls early, sponsors can prevent delays, reduce information requests, and improve the likelihood of timely approval. Regular cross-functional meetings ensure that engineering, clinical, and regulatory teams remain aligned, further reducing the risk of submission deficiencies. Case studies illustrate the variability in approval timelines across different regulatory pathways. Class II devices using the 510(k) pathway can often be cleared within 6 months when substantial equivalence is well documented. High-risk Class III devices undergoing PMA review typically require 18 to 24 months due to comprehensive clinical and non-clinical evaluation. Novel devices pursuing de novo classification may achieve approval in approximately 12 months, provided pre-submission guidance is leveraged effectively. Devices addressing rare conditions through Ph.D. benefit from early FDA engagement, ensuring that safety and probable benefit requirements are clearly understood, facilitating timely approval. These examples highlight the importance of pathway selection, planning, and proactive regulatory engagement for successful device development. Effective regulatory planning requires comprehensive knowledge of FDA pathways, agency roles, and submission requirements. Early engagement through pre-submission meetings, careful selection of regulatory pathways, and proactive study design reduce risk and accelerate time to market. Maintaining robust documentation, including design history files, risk management, and clinical protocols, ensures compliance and supports regulatory review. Integrating engineering, clinical, and regulatory activities strategically allows sponsors to anticipate challenges, manage resources effectively, and ensure that devices are safe, effective, and ready for market entry. By applying these principles, medical device developers can navigate complex regulatory landscapes, optimize timelines, and increase the likelihood of successful approval and market adoption.